Welcome to another edition of Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buck What You Heard. You follow me, I'll follow you back. In these tumultuous times, I thought I'd jump on and, try to talk a little bit about football and kind of get everybody's minds off of, just for a little bit, everything that's going on. I'm joined by my special guest here, Nick Sitro from Bucs Report. How you doing, Nick?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. How's life? How's everything going? I see you're doing big things over there at Bucks Report, and really excited for you.
I appreciate that. I mean, things are crazy in the world, but we're still pumping out Buck stuff, every day it seems like. Posting stats of the day just to, incite conversation on Twitter, Facebook. I think I posted one about Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis. I think so. Jamel Dean had 5 games started, right? And he had, I think, the 5th most passes defended. So I try to find some interesting things like that. Um, and
So,
yeah, just putting out articles.
so I have to ask you, what is the most interesting thing that you've in the off season? Looking through stats and analytics. What's the most interesting thing about the Bucks that you've seen
Hmm.
that just kind of stuck out to you? Kind of similar to the whole Jamel Dean thing.
That's a good question. I would say if you look at efficiency metrics, there's a whole bunch of them without getting too complicated. The main one is DVOA, so it looks at how a defense performs compared to average, and it gives it sort of a percentage number, and then they kind of rank all the teams. So the Bucks defense as a whole was obviously first in rushing and was actually 12th in passing, which gave it third overall. They were the third best or third most efficient defense last year. And this metric kind of weighted the later games as more important. So we know they played better, in the last 6 games, but third best in the NFL.
And that's just collectively. That's despite the crap show that we saw at the beginning of the season, right?
Right, right.
That's right there. And see, I never would have even thought about that, but that is incredible. Just being able to, just to be able to see that kind of thing. Were you surprised when you found that metric?
I was not surprised by the rushing. I mean, we all could see it on TV. It was pretty obvious watching the games. I mean, they dominated the run game. The pass, I was shocked they were 12th. I mean, I would have thought they were below average, 16 to 20. Um, but to see that they were third, I mean, they really balled out the last 6 games of the season to be that high. I think New England was 1 and Baltimore was 2. So they're in good company.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, do you think this is something that we could possibly see the Buccaneers carry into the new season, just based on the roster and the moves they've made in the draft and just the overall things that they've done in the offseason?
I've been thinking about this a lot, and I have a little bit of hesitation because I think we're all like scarred from the Mike Smith days, especially 2016, where they went on a
Jesus
run for the
Christ.
defense, and then
Yeah,
it's going to carry over, and
yeah.
then it was a disaster. So I think I have a little bit of PTSD from from
You
that,
know,
but I the front seven is much better than the
yeah,
2016 team
yeah.
ever was. The secondary still worries me a little bit. I will
Mhm.
say that I need to
Yeah,
see a little bit more
yeah.
from the corners specifically.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, I would love to see more of them. I know that NFL injuries happen, but
Hmm.
just being able to stay healthy and be on the field to really contribute to your team, that's going to be important too, because you're going to see a lot of people, that names you hadn't heard for a while and you kind of forgot about, that are back from injury, that are going to be trying to play for a roster spot or trying to contribute to this team. So that's going to be very important as well, being able to see those guys get out there and play and possibly get in there and contribute as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think this season is going to come down to how the cornerbacks specifically play in the offensive line, because we know everything else is solid to great. So if the cornerbacks can play like they did in the second half of the season, and the offensive line can protect Brady, I mean, we're smooth sailing from here on out.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about you mentioned the offense, I mean that's just been the big topic. A guy that has been kind of polarizing now that the former quarterback's no longer here. There's been back and forth regarding Ronald Jones. I'm a huge Ronald Jones fan. I have been from the time they've drafted him. I've always felt like the Bucks have not committed to the run over the past 3 seasons like they could, but I think and this is a factor that I don't think gets brought up a lot, is situational football. And I don't believe that the Bucs have been in a position where they can consistently run the ball because of whether it's turnovers, a shorter field, or, time, battling the clock. There's so many different factors that contribute to them not being able to utilize the run. But I think that you have a good running back in Ronald Jones, and he's gone out each year and continuously improved his craft. And that's the one thing that gives me hope about him is his professionalism and his commitment to being a better running back. And we see that. I mean, we saw that last year, just the moves that he made.
Yeah, I'll say when he was drafted in the second round, I was not a fan of it. I don't like running backs who can't catch being drafted that high. And he really wasn't a proponent of, he didn't do it in college. He was
I don't think there was a call. There was not really a call for him to catch the ball.
I think he had 30 targets or 30 receptions in college. I'll say this though, rookie season was a nightmare. I mean, just delete the tape on that. It was awful. Dirk Cutter ruins running backs too. That's a whole different other topic. So we fast forward to last year. He improved a ton in the screen game. I mean, when they threw the screen to him, it was 10-yard, 15-yard gain every time. And what I'm seeing this offseason is he's really, really, honing in on route running and catching. You watch the videos he posts, and that's all he's working on. And if he can get better at those two things, he will be a good to great running back, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I just don't get the knock on his hands because I think he had the best catching percentage on the Bucs roster last year.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, there were plays where penalties were called back, and these were monster plays that should have been, added to his resume, but they weren't. Or, there was something happened, but I can't put that on him. He had some drops, but not to the point where you're like, it's noticeable. I thought that he's been a very catchable, his hands have been very good. However, he just hasn't been put in a position where they can utilize him a lot for that. So it just kind of remains to be seen.
I'll say this, the catch percentage, he was asked to do a lot of, easy routes with screens, really, kind of basic stuff that I think raised his catch percentage. And he certainly improved. I remember his rookie training camp, and it was not a great sight to see. I mean, he almost had stone hands, but he improved a lot. And I think if he can be an average pass catcher, he'll be a great running back to pair with Keyshawn Vaughn. So I didn't like him at first as a pick, but I'm slowly kind of growing on him as he's developed. So hopefully he keeps developing.
Yeah, and my thing is it's important to look at how he's trying to improve. He's trying to get better. He's not sitting back and saying, "Oh, I had a good season. I was balling out that season. I'll be ready." No, he's going out. He's playing in Arizona in dry heat in 90 to 100 degree weather, practicing and working out. And that to me speaks volumes about commitment to the team. And I think that, that's what, I really appreciated about him. And that's why I'm really looking forward to him. I believe that he will have a breakout season, having a quarterback that is good at making decisions, good at putting the ball where it's catchable and consistently, and just putting the team in a position to where you can utilize the running game.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it before, but the position that the offense was put in last year with turnovers and I think play calling to a degree in the first 6 games, I was really beating the drum for switching the play calling. It seemed like they would run, 3 running plays in a row, punt, the next play would be 3. I mean, they just never mixed it up. I don't know. I didn't, especially the Giants game when they turtled at the end. I mean, I hated that.
It's almost like they
improved.
Yeah, and it's almost like they play not to lose instead of trying to play to win, and that's kind of the feeling you got. I can't say that that's exactly what it was, but that's how I felt. I was like, man.
Oh, it was absolutely playing not to lose. It was absolutely. I mean, you can't just run 3 straight plays, punt, run 3 straight plays, and punt, and think you're going to win.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. So, we talk about the offseason a little bit. I know I jumped on that a little bit earlier. But for you, how do you feel are you comfortable with the moves that were made this offseason, or were there missed opportunities that you possibly saw that the Bucs could have made that made sense?
I think they hit a home run in almost every area. The only thing that I would have liked to see was a veteran in the secondary, whether that's corner or safety, and not to really, a lot of people make the argument, oh, we don't want that because then Dean and Davis won't get playing time. I wanted a vet player, maybe that played under Todd Bowles, so that he could teach them, in meetings. Okay, this is how you're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to line up. This is how this play works. I think they're just really, really young in the secondary, and that worries me a little bit.
I think it's
But I
kind
mean,
of good
Brady,
that you have a year under your belt. You've got a lot of
that's
these
true.
rookies, and I think that the way they bought into this system at the back end of the season, to your point, number 3 in the league, that you have to contribute some of that to the secondary and
Oh,
what they were able
absolutely.
to do. And so to me, I'm looking forward to this. I'm not as uncomfortable as I have been in years past with Vernon Hargraves or
Oh,
players like
yeah.
that in the secondary. We've seen that for over a decade almost, just horrible secondary play, and I think what I saw last year, it gives me hope that this could be a change in direction, and you could see a little bit more consistency going into next season or this
Yeah.
season, excuse me,
I,
2020.
I can't remember who I was talking to about this earlier about players being developed in a system, and the Buccaneers have not developed anyone in years. I mean, Jamel Dean in the Seahawks game was a train wreck. I mean, he got torched, and I think any other regime, it would have just snowballed out of control. But
Yeah.
they took him. I think that he might have sat out a game or two. He developed, and then he came on really, really strong at the end. I think that's a testament to not only coaching but the players you're
Yes.
drafting and their mentality. So I mean,
Yeah.
you love to see that.
Yeah, and another thing is the coaching staff, the overall
Mhm.
coaching staff. I know that some people don't buy into having all these coaches, or that's not a big deal. I've seen where it's paid dividends, because I believe that there are some of these younger players that wouldn't have been able to step up and do what they did on the back end of the season had it not been for better coaching than what we've seen in years past.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have the biggest coaching staff in the league. I don't know what
Yeah.
the exact number is, but I think it helps delegate tasks so not everyone is, scrambling. Bruce Arians said if you're staying past 7 p.m. or whatever the time was, then you're doing it wrong. By hiring a big coaching staff, he can delegate tasks out so he can focus on, whether it's Tom Brady in the game plan or whatever it is. So I like the big coaching staff. I think it, obviously, it didn't seem to work last year because the team didn't succeed, but I think this year we'll really see how it pays off because I think Bruce Arians will be able to focus on what he thinks is most important.
And you know what? I think that's what's been missed in years past, with Raheem Morris trying to be involved with defensive play calling,
Mm-hmm.
Greg Schiano trying to take over. I don't know what the heck he was doing, but he was
Putting
trying to
people's
take over.
toes on the lines.
Yeah, keeping people's toes on the line. But just being able to delegate authority and trust in your coach, having competent enough coaches where you can trust in them is huge. I think that it is paying dividends. You have a Todd Bowles, and to be honest, I was not real thrilled with Byron Leftwich, but again, um, I would say give him another season. This is his first full season as a head coach where he's coming in. I think, you've upgraded, in a lot of different positions, fixing the offensive line and giving your running back another year to develop. I think we'll get a really good idea of just how good Byron Leftwich is. How comfortable are you with Byron Leftwich?
I was not a fan of his play. I mean, I said this before. I hated his play calling at the beginning of the year. It just didn't make sense, and I think he improved, but still, I mean, I remember the Texans game. We're throwing 5 yard outs, and James is throwing a pick six. Why are we throwing these these same passing plays over and over again when clearly your quarterback is struggling with it? It just never made sense to me. Um, I'm interested to see how much the offense changes with Brady. I think Leftwich is going to have the reins taken back a little bit because Brady is going to want
Yeah,
control over that offense. There's no doubt about it.
yeah.
He's not just going to, do whatever, the play call is. He changes at the line of the
Mhm.
scrimmage all the time. So I'm interested to see how comfortable Leftwich is at maybe getting a little power taken away from him.
Well, and you have to consider, you look at Brady's resume, just pre-snap reads and what he's able
Mm-hmm.
to do. Just even just looking at a defense, being able to diagnose a defense and, the best way to attack it. I think that's something that, the Bucs haven't had for a long time either, is
Yeah,
somebody that can consistently do that.
I don't know if you remember this, but I was talking about this earlier today too with someone. I don't remember Jameis Winston ever changing the play at the line or doing. I
I
just
don't
don't
think he was
remember
allowed to.
anything like that. Yeah, and it's not really a detriment to him. I think you're right, and the coaching staff said you're not changing the play. You're going with what we say.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady, he's not going to do that. He's
No.
going to change whatever the hell he wants, and
Right.
you're going to be okay with that because he's the GOAT. So
Yeah. Exactly. Because all he's got to do is hold up his hands and say, "These are the rings that, here
there you
you go,
go.
right
You're
here."
doing what I say.
You're
I
gonna
think
do what I say.
Peyton Manning's probably the king of pre-snap adjustments, and I think
Yeah.
Brady's right there after him.
Yeah. And as much as Tom Brady disgusts me, and I'm sorry, I'm still working my way into accepting him. I know he's our quarterback. He's the Bucs starting quarterback, and I'm on board with that. But just I've watched him, and there have been games where I'm looking at the defense. I'm like, they're getting ready to smoke this dude, and the next thing I know, he's got the ball out after a second, 2 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
and they're marching down the field, and I'm like, well, how did they do that? And just to be able to have that on this team, and I know a lot of people are like, oh well, he's old, he's not going to be able to do this, or you know what? Let's wait and see, because I believe with the weapons that he has, whether you're talking tight end, running back, and especially wide receiver, I think he's got a lot to work with, and I think that he's going to bounce back from that abnormal season he had last year.
Yeah, when Brady first signed, I looked at a lot of different things, stats, film breakdowns of Jameis and Brady. One thing that I noticed is, 3, 5, 7 step drops. Obviously, the longer the steps are, the more times the longer it's going to take to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands. Brady's 7 step drop is so much faster, even 5 step, pretty much all of them is so much faster than any other quarterback. I mean, he drops 7 steps back, ball's out. When you watch Winston, it's 7 step drop and he hesitates. He's like, I don't know if I want to go there. And then, he's running for his life or it's an interception. I compared him to Matthew Stafford, who takes forever sometimes too. I think Brady has one of the quickest releases out of all the drops. It's not just, out of the shotgun, we're just going to zing it. It's all in this really, really small mechanical adjustments that he makes. He even talks about that in his documentary
and
too.
he's a mechanically sound quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing to really consider. I mean, his footwork, just where he's placing the ball, and quarterbacks. I mean, wide receivers aren't getting killed or having to reach or make these catches because it's put in a position to where they can get yards after the catch. So I think that's going to be very important as well. So, did you have something to jump in with that?
No, I was waiting for you.
Okay. The next thing I was gonna ask you about this is, do you have a list of players that you're looking forward to seeing? Whether it's whether rookies or players like for me, it's Vita Vea, Devin White, and Ronald Jones are my top 3 that I'm really wanting to see how they bounce back from last year. I have to throw Shaq Barrett in there as a honorable mention.
Yeah, I would say Vita Vea is up there with me. I mean, he doesn't get the sacks, but when you watch him on film, I mean, I see people post clips all the time. I've posted a few. He dominates the line of scrimmage, absolutely dominates. He has a filthy spin move, rip move. I mean, he's so good at creating pressure inside. So I love Vita Vea. He's probably top 3. I would say number 2. That's a good question. I'm just scrolling through the depth chart. I would say Gronk's probably up there. I want to see how he bounces back after not playing a season.
And he just lost a 24/7 championship to my
guy. I don't care about any of that WWE nonsense. I know everyone in Florida loves WWE. I don't care. So I'd say he's up there just because there's so many question marks with him. I want to see how he does. I don't think he's going to get the targets that he's used to. I don't think he's going to get 1,000 yards. There's no way.
I think that
number 3,
when you talk about Gronk, I think in the red zone and when you need those first downs, I that's where I'm looking for him to come back and show what he can do there. But go ahead.
Oh, that's all right. I would say number three, probably Tristan Wirfs. I know offensive line can be kind of boring to watch, but I want to see how much he is an upgrade to DeMar Dotson. He's a mauler in the run game, and throughout the whole pre-draft process, I said he's my fourth offensive tackle, and I was pretty much sticking to it. I think he needs a lot of work in passing
Yeah.
sets, especially vertical passing sets. But I think he has the skill set to do it. I just want to see if it actually translates. I know a lot of people said he was better fit as a guard. So there's a lot of question marks for me. I know a lot of fans love him, but I'm not entirely sold on him at right tackle.
I totally understand. So what was missing from his arsenal that could have made him a higher draft pick? What concerns you about him the most?
He was so inconsistent. I mean, you would watch, games, series, and he would absolutely dominate, the entire game. And then you go to the next one, and he's crossing his feet and passing sets, which is the biggest no in in a passing play, or he'd put his hands in the wrong spot, or he'd get beat inside. I mean, it was 3 plays in a row, and then he dominated the next 3 plays. So
Yeah.
just so much inconsistency. I will say this with I know I'm kind of crapping on him a little bit, but with Wirfs, the run game is automatically upgraded. I mean, he destroys people in the run game. It's just the passing downs that I'm a little bit worried about.
I totally get that. And you're not the first person that I've heard say that. I've actually had people that just have broken it down for me. And I totally understand what you're talking about. I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that. But again, you had to take an offensive lineman in the draft.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
and and so I believe that it was the right move. Now, with a lot of the inconsistencies that he has, I think those are things that are coachable. Those are things that
Oh yeah,
he
absolutely.
can definitely come around if that's what he wants to do, is to improve his craft and get in there and just get better. Then that will happen.
Yeah, I would say you can't really teach athleticism, which is what he has. He's ultra
Yeah.
athletic. You can teach technique, and all the things that I mentioned are incredibly teachable if you have a good offensive line coach. So I think he can do it. I
Yeah.
absolutely think he can do it. But I had him at number 4 because I thought the other 3 were much more polished and consistent. But
And
if he
NFL
was on the
ready.
board and they didn't go offensive line, I would have erupted. They absolutely had to go offensive line, or I don't know what I would have done, but it would not have been
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah, you got to make that move, man. And I'm glad they did. Hopefully, and a lot of these draft picks that we've seen over the last 2 years, I've been really happy with. I feel like these are players that have continuously gotten better. I'm trying to think of somebody that I think since Arians has been here, I think the drafts have been a lot better than what they were. You've
Mm-hmm.
seen more logical picks and players that you can look to see if they improve, they can definitely help this team down the road. I mean, like a Devin White,
Mm-hmm.
like a Jamel Dean, and players like that can actually consistently get better and really help this team to do what they need to do. So uh, definitely some great draft picks, and I think like you said, looking at this team top to bottom, man, I see big things for this team if everybody could stay healthy.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying Super Bowl or bust. I don't think I'm that high yet. We haven't made. I said this on Peter Blake's show a couple times.
Mhm.
This team, the last time they won a playoff game, I was 7. The last time they made the playoffs, I think I was 12. I just want to make the playoffs. I mean, it's been
Exactly.
so depressing.
Yeah.
This decade has been just misery.
It,
So
it it's been longer than that, bro. It's been
it's been what
yeah.
08 to 2020. I mean, even
Yeah.
in those playoff years, they
Yeah.
weren't doing a lot after 03. So
Yeah, and it's just like they were just like this rudderless ship. They were just like
mhm.
making moves. There was no consistency. Um, I think a couple of years ago, I did. This was before Vita Vea came on. I did a podcast just talking about how inconsistent they were with drafting in the trenches, and just some of the moves that they've made from, I would say, 2003 to the present. I can't consistently say every year that I understood why they drafted had the draft the way they drafted the way they did, because it just didn't make sense. But I think, a lot of that is all coming together now, and you're really looking at, some promise here.
Yeah, I mean Vita Vea. I know a lot of people didn't like the pick at the time, but I mean he's developed into he's going to be one of the best defensive tackles in the league. I fully believe that. Devin White, people weren't happy with. They said go pass rusher. Josh Allen. I mean, I think
Hmm.
he's going to be the next Levante David.
Yeah.
I think he can easily be that good. Um, I was talking to Blake Anthony about draft picks, and he looked at the Saints. And if you look back over 20 years, they're drafting trench picks every year. So and look at the Saints; they've been a powerhouse team for
Yep.
the past 5 years. I think they've dominated the NFC South. So it's
And
always got to
it's
be
interesting you
trenches.
say that. I really hadn't thought about the Saints. I always think about the Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh yeah, that
You
they're another team. The
never you
Seahawks.
never hear about the Baltimore Ravens having a bad defensive line or offensive line. You may see a player here or two that may have fallen off or gets old and they don't really replace it. But for the most part, consistently since the beginning, the Ravens have always done well drafting in the trenches, and they've always consistently had a good running game because you've got those offensive linemen that know what they need to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams like that. The Seahawks come to mind. They're always taking defensive tackles or defensive linemen. Cowboys are always loading up on offensive linemen. Unfortunately, a lot of them got hurt or sick, or I don't remember what the exact situation was. But um, you got to draft trench players high, and we saw
Yeah.
that with Vita Vea. We saw that with Tristan Wirfs. So they're moving in that direction. Hopefully, it pays off.
Yeah, that's what I'm really hoping for is they do. I'm looking in the Bucks report is asking who is Bruce Arians helped the most in your opinion.
Who has Bruce Arians helped the most? I would say Chris Godwin. Statistically, well, I think Chris Godwin always had the talent. It was just the situation. They moved him in the slot, put him in that Larry Fitzgerald role, and they peppered him with targets. So, I mean, I'm curious to see how they use him again this year with with Gronk, with Brady. Are they going to be as vertical? But I think it's Chris Godwin easily.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I would, and because they don't really use the tight end a lot, I can't
Mm-hmm.
really say OJ. And then
Oh, don't get me started on OJ Howard.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh, Bucks report says who has Bruce Arians helped the most? His answer would be Jason Light. Um,
Yeah, I guess I wasn't really thinking personnel. I was more thinking
yeah,
players, but
yeah,
he was going to
yeah.
get fired. So yeah, I guess
That.
that's a good one.
Yep, and I think they've kind of turned it around. I think collectively they worked together in free agency and in the draft they've kind of turned things around. So definitely having a quality head coach is something that I'm just not used to here in
Nope.
Tampa. Just considering all the moves that Tampa has made, going back to John Gruden getting fired, um, for being forced to hire Raheem Morris so they don't lose him to Denver, or having to end up with Greg Schiano because Chip Kelly didn't want to be here, or the love affair that they briefly had with Lovie Smith, and then you don't want to lose Dirk Cutter to a head coaching position, so you hire him, and then Mike Smith. There's rumors of him getting another head coaching position, and so they re-sign him at the time. And I'm going to be honest because I'm wrong a lot, and I do not mind being wrong. I thought that it was a good move at the time to bring Mike Smith back, but
Oh, me too.
he,
I thought it was
yeah,
a good move as well
yeah,
at the
and I
time,
and
and
I
then we
don't.
saw how that worked out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Julio Jones should probably give part of his paycheck to him and Mitch Trubisky.
Oh
Both of
my
those
God,
guys.
Mitch Trubisky! He's. I said it at the time. Mitch Trubisky is not a good quarterback, and look at what he did to the Bucs defense. That is embarrassing. That is
And the
absolutely
and the and the
embarrassing.
bad thing about it was, this is the worst part of it, is that everybody was like, they're looking at his numbers and they're like, wow, look at this guy's numbers, and the majority of the numbers he got against the Bucks that game.
Yeah,
So
I said he played the Bucs. Look at I can't remember the year. I think it was 2014, the year right before Jameis, where
uh,
we had two backup quarterbacks. We were playing
oh
against
yeah,
them.
Mike
The
Glennon and
it
Mike
was the
Glennon and
Panthers, I think, was one of them. I can't remember the teams
yeah,
now, but and
yeah,
I was like, oh, we're gonna have a great year. We lost both games. Then we Atlanta
because
Thursday Night
Derek
Football was
Anderson was
56-0. Oh my God. Yeah,
Yeah,
Derek
that was
Anderson was one of them. That I
yeah.
remember that. I don't remember the other one.
Yeah, it was bad, and I do recall that, man. But like I said, man, I just feel so far removed from that when you consider
Same.
the personnel and who they have, and to me, I feel like this team kind of underachieved over the past. I mean, not this last year, but years before, 2017, 2018, they straight up underachieved with those 2 5-win seasons,
Hmm.
and they should have been a better team, but just I think coaching had a lot to do with that. I think injuries and personnel had even more to do with that. And I just, I don't think they were in a good place. So
Yeah.
I'm happy with where the Bucs are now. And I really hope that whether it's ownership, general managers, or whoever can look back at everything and say, you know what, we don't want to get back to where we were. Let's make sure that we keep those quality players in there.
Yeah. I mean, the moves that they made they didn't make
You scratch
logical
your
sense
head.
sometimes. Yeah. I mean, even Dirk Cutter at the end of his tenure, the locker room was a disaster. I mean,
Yeah.
you saw it in his face and his demeanor when he went to press conferences. He was like, "I
He
don't
was
know the
done.
answers. I don't know. I'm just gonna, say whatever, and then I'm gonna go home." It's
That
like
dude was
he was ready to
done.
get out the door. It was like week 6. I mean, it's. I think this team has, and we say the word culture all the time. I
Mm.
think Brady and Bruce Arians. I think more so Brady can absolutely turn around this entire
Yeah.
organization's culture just with his presence. That's all
Yeah.
he needs. He's going to do more, but obviously, just him being here makes
Yeah.
everybody else better.
Yeah, and I mean, we could look back at games where he got at the offensive line, and I
Hmm.
do not expect to see a lot of the same things we saw with the offensive line last year, this year with Brady. I really don't. I could be wrong, but I mean, being able to hold people accountable and getting in their face and that kind
Hmm.
of thing. I just don't see players underachieving like what we've seen. And
Yeah, I mean,
again,
you saw last year the Patriot Tom Brady would chew out his receivers. I mean, it was like every other
yeah,
game. So he's not going to be afraid to get in your face if you miss a block or you run the wrong route. And I think we've needed that from a player for a long time. It's one thing if a coach does it to you. It's
yeah,
another thing if a player does it.
yeah. So again, it's going to be one of those things where they've all got to come together, and
Hmm.
we've talked about this, and I've heard you talk about it too. But the team coming together and gelling, I know that sounds so cliche, but when your offensive line or your offensive unit is playing together, it's hard to beat a team when you have that kind of cohesiveness.
Hmm.
I think with the defense has been a liability for a very, very long time, where
That's
they
an
cannot
understatement.
they cannot hold leads, and we've just seen that. And I think what you saw from, I would say, the middle of the season on was a team that started to trust each other. They started to play together, and little I guess you would say intangibles where you didn't have to worry about Brent Grimes.
Hmm.
Somebody playing on top over the top of Brent Grimes or somebody like that. These guys were playing in their position. They know what they need to do, and they went out there and did it. That's what I appreciate about this defense and where this defense is. I like the moves that they made in the offseason, bringing these guys back so they can all work together. I think you've got core pieces, and I think it's great that you can draft players or bring players in from free agency and put them in, and they just kind of fit in with what you already have.
Absolutely. When you look back at the beginning of the season and to a degree, and then Mike Smith, his defense. I mean, you'd watch some of the All 22, and it was like, you know, Levante David's supposed to be covering this area, but he doesn't trust the corner to his left, so he's going
Right.
to cheat over. Now the middle of the field's wide open. Now he has to cheat over because he doesn't trust the linebacker. It was just all of this. I don't trust you to do your job, so it just all breaks apart. I think we saw a little bit of that at the beginning of the season last year, and then they all kind of bought in. Okay,
Yeah.
I can actually trust the guy next to me to do their job. That's the Belichick saying, "Do your job."
Yeah.
But it really, if one guy doesn't do their job, the whole defense can break down. So,
Exactly. And we saw that like with Quan, and not picking
mhm.
on Quan Alexander, but Jesus Christ, that guy would leave a hole the size of Minnesota just right there in the middle of the field. And it's just those little things like that. And then when you get you upgrade at that linebacker position, you get players that really understand the game and they know what they need to do. It just makes a world of difference, and we've seen that.
Yeah, I mean, Colin Alexander, I think he was a good player.
Oh,
I
he
think he
was.
had a good season for the 49ers. And a part of it was just abysmal play calling. But,
Hmm.
a lot of times when you watched him, he would just guess on where he thought the run was going to go. And then, there's a wide open hole where it actually is going. You
Right.
can't do that or else you're going to get torched. So
Yeah.
I think Devin White is definitely an upgrade. He has better
Yeah.
instincts. I think he's faster sideline to sideline. So,
And
um,
I believe that he will be he'll get better in the passing game too. I think just
mhm.
being a rookie and learning the speed of the NFL. Not to mention that he had injuries and he was coming back from, and he fit right in. I mean, he caught up with the speed of the game, and you saw good things from Devin White, and almost and that right there to me is important when you have a player that's mature enough to step back and look at where he's making mistakes and then pick it up and play better. I mean, it's like night and day.
Mhm.
And like I said, it was such an upgrade just to see what he can do, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to do this year.
Mm. I mean, a lot of people got on him the first couple weeks, but he was sick week one with what was it, tonsillitis or
Yeah,
something. Then he got hurt week two, and then he came back. And I mean, you got to give the kid some time to
yeah,
acclimate to the team. I mean, people were ripping him after week one, two, and then whenever he came back, and we saw how good he can be towards the end of the year. Two scoop and scores. I think he had another fumble recovery against the Texans. So you got to give these guys some time.
yeah.
They're not going to come in and be immediate superstars. Although
Hmm.
some do, it's not normal.
Yeah, and I love his leadership skills. I really
Mm-hmm.
believe that that's going to continue to grow more. And he's somebody to look forward to. When you talk about the future of this team, and with Tom Brady and Gronk coming to Tampa, I think it's going to shed light on a lot of defensive players that haven't gotten the love that they deserve. I've always felt like Levante David has never gotten the respect from the media that he deserves from the NFL. There are players, his peers, they know how good he is. However, you've got people outside of that don't really understand just how good this man is, and just him getting these opportunities to play in these primetime games to show how good he is. And I hope he can stay healthy and just get through the season and just let people know this is who I am, because
Mm.
he should have been going to the Pro Bowl, and it's really a travesty of justice that he never really got caught on like he should have.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at my Twitter, I have been banging the Levante David drum all off season. He has better stats in certain areas than Bobby Wagner and Luke Kuechly. First, 8 seasons, I've compared him to Hall of Fame players, and he's right there. I mean, he doesn't get the recognition because this defense has been so bad. This team has
Yeah,
been awful. He's been as good or better than the best linebackers in the league, and as good or better, pace wise than Hall of Fame linebackers. So I really,
100%
really
agree.
hope that the primetime games give him exposure. I mean, I'm going to be watching, just like praying for him to get a pick six so everyone can just see how good he
Yeah.
is, make an
Yeah,
impact
and
play.
I want to
Oh,
see
I
those
love
strip
it.
fumbles.
Oh man,
That's what he's
he's
notorious
the
for.
strip fumble king. Nobody is better at tackles for loss or causing fumbles than Levante David at
Yeah,
linebacker. There's nobody else.
because that ball's getting punched out one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
It's going. So, yeah, most definitely, man. That's another guy that I'm really looking forward to seeing. So, just kind of getting back again, folks. If you just joined, I'm on with Nick Sitro. It seems like everybody in the chat knows who you are. You are a celebrity.
I don't know about that, but I appreciate it.
And just a little bit about I know you're working with Bucs Report and you're doing a lot with them. What all do they have you doing? I know you do a lot you have a great Twitter presence, and we talked a little bit about your brackets that you had, and what that turned into. The brackets of doom for you. It was
It started off as an innocent, fun thing during quarantine, and it was still pretty fun. I'm definitely going to bring back the media bracket next year during March Madness because that was definitely a lot of fun. some of them got hijacked by certain people. So I don't know. I got to take a bracket break for the time being. But yeah, I mean, I try to post, stats of the day with the hashtag. If I find some interesting things, I'll post it on Facebook. Um, a lot of the articles, when I first came on board, I think it was in January of Bucs Report, so it's only been 6 months now, not even.
Yeah.
Um, I put, a lot of my articles, I like to do stat breakdowns of certain things. So,
Uh-huh.
and I don't like it to be biased. Everyone can put out a Jameis sucks article. This is why, or he's good. This is why. I like to post. Here's why he's good and bad. Make your own decision. That's
Right.
kind of how I try to differentiate myself. From all the other articles that you see. Um, and then during the draft, I mean, I was really busy during the draft. Player breakdown, stuff like that. So I try to do film stuff during the season. I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place. It seems like I do a little bit of everything.
So how did you get involved with looking at film? Because I know some people look at film and they don't have any idea what they're looking at.
Yeah.
And there are other people that look at film and they're like, oh, okay, this is where he's going. How did you get drawn into that? And how do you get better at it as you continue to do it? Just for
So
for
there,
people that want to get out there and
right.
do it.
So I know when you first open all 22 and you look at every single player and click play, it's like I have no idea. Like I don't know what's going on. There's so many things to look at. How I like to say I'm an average film watcher. I'm not.
Hmm.
I don't know every single technique thing with every position, but I think I'm better than maybe the average person. I've talked to people that have broke down film. What do you look for in offensive line? And then they'll show me examples. You can just go on YouTube. I
Yeah,
mean, Brett Coleman, he
he's
breaks down
great.
stuff. There's man, I'm blanking on the guy's name now, but I think he's a Cowboys fan, but he does a lot of film breakdowns. I mean, go watch what those guys look for,
Yeah,
and then translate it into Bucs film and see what you can see. So there's a lot of YouTube channels and websites about, okay, this is what an offensive play design looks like. This is what a dagger concept looks like, and then go try to
right.
find it in an all 22 film and see if you can do it.
Yeah.
It definitely takes a decent amount of work, but I think anyone, if they have the drive and I'd say willpower to want to learn, you can.
Oh, did I lose you? Um, I think I lost Nick. I will get Nick back on here. It looks like I may have lost him. Give me 1 second here. Hold on. Hopefully you can still hear me. I'll get Nick back on here. It looks like somehow he got disconnected, but I'll get him back on here momentarily. Just and kind of, to piggyback on what Nick was talking about here, there will be times where you want to actually look and see, you want to look away from the ball basically, and you want to know, okay, this is what's going on away from the ball, and that's kind of what you want to look at. Give me a second, folks. I'll try to get him back on here. Looks like it, because I think he was just in the middle of. That's the. Let's see, internet issues. Okay. All right, let's see if I can get him back on here. And but anyway, just kind of getting back to what I was saying. Just when I'm watching, I'm definitely looking away from the ball. It's taken me a long time to identify a cover three, or just different routes, and what they mean and how to look for them. So I'm still learning. Me personally, I'm still always learning. And I'm not an expert and don't really claim to be, but it is something that I do want to get better at, and I do encourage other people to get better. So give me a second here. Let me see if I can figure out what happened. Let's see here. Let's see here. I don't know what happened. Let's see. Get him back on here. Let's see. Um, I am going to try to get him back in here again, and we will finish up with what we were talking about. It's one of the adventures of not one of the adventures of going live or being live, as other podcasts will tell you. Sometimes it just happens like that. So here we go. I think I've got him back on. All right, let me get. All right, let me get you back in here. Oh, no worries, man. This is the beauty of going live. These are the things that happen when you do go live. So I'm gonna get you back in here, and yeah, those things happen, bro. So I mean, trust me. There have been times. There are just times where these things just happen. So it is what it is. All right, I think we got you back in here. I think
We're back.
we're back. So where we kind of left off, you were talking about the looking at breaking down film and just giving suggestions to listeners on how to do that. So I'll let you go ahead and continue to what you were talking about, because I think it's really interesting. I know for me, and I think I was mentioning this while I was trying to fix everything. It's important to look away from where the play is. You want to see where certain players are lining up, because I've seen where you've got a player that eats a bunch of blocks and it springs a play on another part of the field, and you're like, wow, if I'm just watching the ball, you don't see those other things. There are so many other things that are going on within a play. It's just it's interesting to be able to go back and watch all that.
Yeah, I mean, when I watch, plays for the first time or the live broadcast, I tend to watch the ball, for the most part. But when I go back, you can focus in on the guard and watch him for a whole series, or focus in on a tackle and see what they're doing. And I think everyone can learn. The QB school on YouTube is good if you want to learn scheme stuff. People break down technique and scheme differently, but I think there's universal, ideas that I think everyone has. So you got to learn from people that know what they're talking about, essentially. You learn from former coaches, learn from people who know what they're doing, and then translate it into your own film watching. It's not as hard as people say it is. You just got to have the time to want to learn how to do it.
Yeah. And you have to have patience, because you have to go back and watch a play and then go back and watch it again. And, you watch it enough times, you get an idea, you get the gist of what's going on. So that's definitely something to really keep in mind. So, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, along with that, being at Bucs Report and breaking down film, looking at drafts, and will you be going to any of the, if it with the whole COVID thing, will you be going to any of the practices this year, or is this something that is going to be part of what you're going to be doing with Bucs Report?
I don't know about any practices. I know, during live events, unfortunately we had to do the live draft through video. I don't live in Tampa. I live in New England, as some people know. So, it can be a little expensive to go back and forth, especially I'm in grad school too. So I'm going to try to get to a game. I'm definitely going to go to the Giants game if they allow fans, if you're in that area. But I don't know about actually attending practices or anything like that. If people want to video stream it for me, that would be nice.
Yeah, that, again, it's so uncertain what's going to happen. And I think, people being healthy, people staying healthy is very important. We're just really living in some really uncertain times with just everything as a whole that's going on. And, it's good to, kind of step away from that sometimes, but eventually we have to get back to it. But I know for me, I was intending on going to a couple of games. I was going to try to go to the Saints game, but man, the tickets, they just jacked the tickets up in New Orleans, and it's unreasonable, to kind of go. And then looking at the tickets in Vegas.
Those are crazy prices in Vegas. Like $1,000 for a nosebleed seat.
Yeah, and the stadium looks like a shop vac, so I don't know. I think I'm just better off just going back to Tampa and doing what I do. I always have the most fun. I love the tailgates in Tampa. I always have. So many friends there. My family's there, and just getting back there and and hanging out. I think that, to me, being in Tampa football season is, I don't think there's anything like it. Whether it was Houlihan Stadium, whether it's whether it's Raymond James Stadium, just the people, just the whole atmosphere. I don't think there's anywhere like it. I've been to other games in other stadiums, but I can tell you right now, there's nothing like a game in Tampa. Nothing like it. And I would put our football, just the tailgate and the whole party atmosphere up against anybody's, anytime.
I mean, we have a pirate ship on our stadium. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you beat that? You can't beat that.
You really can't. All right, man. So what I wanted to do, I do this with all the guests. I usually rattle off like 10 questions. I give you a minute to answer 10 questions, and see how you do. I'm not going to time you because you're a first-time guest on here. Next time,
be easy on me first time.
And the questions will be NFL related, and so I'm getting my timer set up here.
Do you want just buy or sell, or do you want an explanation with it too?
Buy or sell for now. We can do explanations after. We
Okay.
can do the response afterwards. But what we're going to do, I'll hit you up with a question and then I'll start the timer, to be fair.
Okay.
All right. Shooter in the stash is in the house. Hey, thanks for coming in. Thanks for trolling my whole show. I appreciate that. And I will definitely be looking for your hockey show because well, actually, maybe not, because you don't really talk to your fans. So there is that, just letting you know that. But anyway, we'll get back to this, and I'll go ahead and start with the first question. And again, they're all football related, so I'll make it easy on you. Dak is a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson. Buy or sell?
Sell.
Who had the better draft on paper, the Bucs or the Panthers?
Bucs.
Cleveland Browns will go to the playoffs. Buy or sell?
Sell.
Mike McCarthy is 2020's best NFL coach. Buy or sell?
Sell.
Cam Newton will be a starter by the end of the season. Buy or sell?
Buy.
Will Golston has a better 2020 season than 2019. Buy or sell?
Buy.
The Falcons head coach is on the hot seat. Buy or sell?
I'm going to go sell.
The Kansas City Chiefs will return to the Super Bowl. Buy or sell?
Sell.
Who would you rather have as your quarterback, Mitch Trubisky or Jimmy Garoppolo?
Jimmy Garoppolo.
All right. Last question. Who has a higher football IQ, you or Keith Larson?
I think we all know the answer to that.
Oh, so that's a no.
That's obviously me, right?
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. I mean, you're on the show. You're right here. I'm going to say it's you.
Sorry, Keith. I think you understand.
All right. Well, it was a minute and 5 seconds.
Oh, no.
But, that's good. That's good. Most people, it's a minute, 20 minute, 15, 20, 30, But I thought you did good. I mean, you hit on, you were starting out strong, and then I got you with the Will Golston question.
You got some tough ones in there.
And what do you when we were talking about Will Golston, what made you hesitate on that one there? What was it about Will Golston and you're like, oh no, I'm buying that?
I don't know. So what was the question? I don't even remember what it was. He'll have a better season, right?
Will he have a better 2020 season than 2019? I thought
Right.
He had a great 2019 season. I thought he really fit scheme wise. I thought he fit into the offense. I mean, excuse me, the defense very well. And I thought he made some great plays, especially stopping the run.
Yeah, that one was really hard because I think he's going to be much of the same. He's going to be in the same role, more of, he's going to be an early down player when it's an obvious run, maybe, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. So, man, I couldn't cheat and say neither. So I kind of just threw one out there, but I don't see him changing much at all. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but that's my honest answer.
That's just putting that out there. I noticed you kind of hesitated on the Cleveland Browns question.
Yeah,
Um,
that was a tough one too. I
yeah.
think the Ravens have that lockdown, that division
Mm.
lockdown.
You
Um,
know, and when I look at their quarterback, Baker Mayfield, I don't know. I still am unsure what to make of Baker Mayfield.
mhm.
Just looking at him, he has moments where he looks good, and then he has other moments where you're like, man, what are you thinking? And it kind of reminds me of the situation here sometimes. So
Yeah,
I just don't know. If you get a good Baker Mayfield, I think that the Cleveland Browns could go to the playoffs.
yeah. I mean, maybe if now that I'm thinking about it more, they have the extra team making the playoffs. So, I mean,
Yeah,
if you
that's
think about
definitely
the
something to
wild
think
card
about.
teams, yeah. I mean, if I could change my answer, I'd probably buy it now that I have to think about it.
so so
Just with the
you
wild
know
card format.
what do you think about that, the whole wild card format? Do you think that's going to does that make the game better, or is it kind of water down the game?
I like it solely because it gives the Bucs a better chance to make the playoffs, and that is all I care about. Is give me an increased chance to make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to need that seventh spot this year. I mean, crossing my fingers, knock on
Yeah.
wood. But um, when that rule came out, I don't know how you don't like it as as a fan of a team that's missed the playoffs and 10-6 missed the playoffs, 9-7 missed the playoffs. We
Yeah.
would have been in. I think both, if not one of those years.
Yeah,
So
it should have been in both, actually, to be
yeah,
honest. I think
yeah.
there was
So
I
you're
think
going to tell me that you would rather them not be in it? Give me that seventh playoff spot any day of the week.
yeah, exactly. Because, and I say this, this has just been my whole thing this year, this offseason. I want to talk about who the Bucks are going to play after the season's over. I don't want to talk about who they're
Mm-hmm.
going to draft. I don't want to talk about free agency. I want to talk about who the Bucks are going to be facing in wild card or first round or whatever in the playoffs. I don't want to discuss the offseason. I'm sick of that. And I think
Mm-hmm.
people have gotten to the point where they're used to it. And okay, let's talk about who the Bucks. I see mock drafts in December, and I'm thinking to myself, well, if this team could just win games, the whole topic would change. We would be talking about something different, and we would have a different perspective on things. But when that's all you have to talk about is who you're going to draft or who's available in free agency, and then you have arguments, and then it turns into another civil war, and it just it's the whole thing all over again. And that's part of losing. Kind of pollutes a fan base, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And they really, when you don't have anything to look forward to, and all you had to look forward to is a high pick in the draft, I think that's kind of disappointing. I think there really needs to be more to it than that. So to me, I think it's going to be important that the Bucks get in there and win these games. And I would rather see the Bucks be competitive. Like the Saints have been. The Saints have been continuously competitive. They may have a down year, but they always bounce back and they fix the issues they have and they move forward. That's what I want to see from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Agreed. I'm sick of draft talk when I'm handing out Halloween candy to little kids at my door. I mean, it's like at the end of October and we're already talking about April. I'm so done with that.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, and I think there really needs to be a change of a mindset, but ultimately the team has to give us some wins. And I think that's the most important thing is give us some wins, give us something to be excited about, give us something to hold a different conversation about, because you can't defend a lot of people that say things. You can't defend this team from people that say the negative things that they say because, the team hasn't given you anything else to talk about. So that all has to change.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sick of turning on the TV at 1 p.m. on Sundays and seeing just empty seats everywhere, and I don't blame people for not going. I
Yeah.
mean, I wouldn't spend my money on an expensive ticket when the team's 2-7 in November or whatever. So, I want to turn on the TV week 9 and the stadium's packed with Bucks fans. The Giants game comes to mind too. It was a sea of blue. I mean, I want to see the stadium rocking like it was in 03, 04,
Yeah.
05, even in the late 90s.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
just being at those games. I mean, I would be deaf and hoarse too from yelling and stuff. So, I mean, the crowd's cheering. It was just, I don't think there's anything like that. That was just a time that I would love to see Raymond James Stadium like that again. Uh, Going to different tailgates. I think I would go to like 4 different tailgates before we even went into the stadium. But and again, winning. I believe winning will bring all that back. I think with Tom Brady being here, I think you've got a lot of other fans that are coming on board and getting to appreciate, just how fun it is. I mean, you can say what you want to about this team, but I tell you what, the tailgates and just the people that you get to hang out with, it's on another level. So, that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are annoyed with the bandwagon Brady fans, but every team that is good, hopefully will be good, has bandwagon fans.
Yeah.
And you need the bandwagon fans to fill the stadium. So welcome them in if you want a home field advantage, because otherwise we're not going to get it.
That's right. Hey, man, this has been a lot of fun. I hope that I can get you on again as we get closer to the season. We'll have a lot more to talk about, and I'll have some harder questions. But, again, I appreciate your football IQ, man, and just, how awesome you are in social media. I wish everybody could just, if somebody disagrees with you, okay, cool, you disagree, and kind of move on and, not take things personal. And, you don't always have to be right. And I think we need more of that in social media and fans like yourself who's, you're openly honest about how you feel about this team. If they're not doing good, they're not doing good. And you can't say things about a team that's not doing good. You openly acknowledge all that stuff. So, you're greatly appreciated. And, the one thing that I really appreciate about you too, throughout that whole debacle at the end with the brackets, I think, you showed a great degree of professionalism, and that's greatly appreciated as well. So again, man, you're an asset to, Bucs media and Bucs fans. And, as we go, I consider what you do a big boost because, I don't watch ESPN on a regular basis. I don't watch CBS Sports or NFL Network. I would rather listen to local people like yourself.
Agreed.
And the different shows that are on Bucs Report and some of the other podcasts that are out there. I think I get more out of that than listening to these so-called professionals. And I think I appreciate that a lot more. So, dude, keep doing what you're doing. And you've been on now. You are a friend of the show, and you're always welcome back on.
Thanks for having me. I'll have to get under the minute next time. The 5 seconds is going to eat at me. I didn't do it in time, so next time I'm going to time myself. I've got it down. But I appreciate the kind words.
Hey, no
and
problem.
The social media
man.
thing's always fun.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun. That's what it's supposed to be. But you have some people that take it seriously. Adam Davies, I want to get this guy on from the UK over here, checking us out. Saying what's up to everybody. Again, you like I said, you're always welcome on. I'm trying to do this once a week. There's just not a whole lot to really talk about sports wise.
Yeah.
That's why I have to come up with trivia questions. So,
I'll do trivia with you for an hour or two. I mean, that sounds fun to me.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Hey, guys, thank you so much. Everybody in the chat, thank you. I know it's really earlier than I normally come on, but I try to accommodate, as much as I can. And again, I will have you back on. What we do when we finish up here, guests can give a final thought, whether it's something current events, sports related, or just whatever. Final thought before we roll out, and I'll let you roll first, and I'll go next.
I'll keep it Bucs related. This is the I'm trying to think of the right word. This is the most insane time in Bucs offseason history I can ever remember. Getting Brady, Gronk. So I know a lot of people are, we felt the hope in the offseason, but, I'm not so sure. Just buy in. Let yourself buy in. It's going to be fine. We're going to the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off of that. As being a fan, there's no wrong way to be a fan, but I think you have more fun buying in and enjoying the ride. And that's kind of where I'm at. I never in a billion years would have thought that Tom Brady would be the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I never would have thought that Gronk would be a tight end for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but here we are. and I'm slowly but surely embracing all that. And I really believe that this is going to be an exciting season. It would be a travesty of justice if the NFL did not get to play out the season with all the different storylines. I mean, this would make great reality TV. Just some of the different storylines with guys like Teddy Bridgewater in Carolina, and Cam Newton not knowing where he's going to be at, Winston in New Orleans, and just even Phillip Rivers for playing for the Colts right now. Is just crazy. All the different things that are going on. I cannot wait to see how this 2020 NFL season plays out. But one thing I can say, be good to each other, and just keep rooting for this team, and eventually we're going to get there. I think it will be this year. This year will be better than last year. But that's pretty much it for me. Me and Nick Sitro from Bucs Report. We are out of here. Everybody